Stealthing is about to become illegal in Australia, and therefore it's been in the news more recently, and your high school age child may have a few questions about it. This video is aimed at parents of high school age kids, but if you're a parent and you're parenting a 7, 8, 9, even 10-year-old, I would still encourage you to watch this video and learn about stealthing, as well as think about the topics and questions that you would need to have explained to your child before they reach the high school age. This will help to give you an idea about the range of topics that need to be discussed and explained before your child reaches the ages of 13, 14, or 15. I'm Kathleen, and I make YouTube videos for parents on how to talk about sex and answer sex questions that their child may have. Stealthing is the non-consensual removal of a condom. Stealthing occurs during consensual sexual activity where the partners have agreed to engage in sexual activity. But then during that sexual activity, one person chooses to remove the condom without getting the consent from the other person to do so. This can lead to a variety of consequences, not only physical consequences, but also emotional and psychological consequences as well. Individuals who have become victims of stealthing have stated that their consent to the sexual activity was violated and that they did not agree to unprotected sex, and therefore they were sexually assaulted. And the Australian government tends to agree. Many folks jump to the idea that the person wants to spread their seed. And you may even think back to that Law & Order SVU episode with John Stamos in 2011, where the character Stamos played basically stealthed his victims. Well, he didn't actually remove the condom, but he did tamper with the condom in order to make them ineffective. But that's not the real motivation behind stealthing. Stealthing is really about power, control, and domination over another person. And when you hear that, you realize that this legislation in Australia is warranted. First, you would have needed to have a few conversations about condom use, communication skills, the consequences of sex, as well as consent. And that's the crucial element here, because you will be approaching this talk from the consent approach. Remember, parents, anybody can stealth. There are male and female condoms. So don't assume that this behavior can only be done by those who have a penis. Also, don't assume that your child with a penis is heterosexual. They may choose to engage in sexual activity with males and females and could become a victim of stealthing themselves as well. So how do you start this conversation with your high school age child? You can say something to the effect of, have you heard of stealthing when it comes to engaging in sex, vaginal, anal, or oral? I've heard it in the news recently, and I want you to be aware of what it is, and that this behavior is abhorrent and is quickly becoming illegal in a number of countries. Stealthing occurs when a sexual partner chooses to remove the condom without the knowledge or permission to do so from their sexual partner. Therefore, the other person is left thinking that they are engaging in protected sex when in reality, they are not. And this can lead to a variety of consequences, including STI, STD, including HIV transmission, as well as unintended pregnancy, and emotional and psychological consequences as well. Stealthing is a violation of consent, and in some countries it's considered illegal and classified as sexual assault. It is never okay to stealth someone. It's a violation of their trust, and it's just not okay. I mean, actually, any behavior during sexual activity that was not mutually agreed upon is never okay. I don't want you to ever feel ashamed or embarrassed if you've ever become a victim of stealthing. I want you to know that you can always come to me or go to the authorities and report it immediately. So parents of children in the high school age, you might be thinking here, okay, well, that video was quite short. She just breezed through all this information. And yeah, I did. Because parents, by the time your child reaches the high school age, you've already covered the big stuff. You've already addressed that people have sex for pleasure as well as making babies. You've already talked about the variety of consequences of sex as well as your family values around sex and sexuality. So when something pops up in the news, like for example, the Me Too movement or a presidential candidate that says he grabs them by the pussy, you can talk about this sexual topic and discuss the issue at hand with your high school age kid without having to go back and explain sex. I hope that makes sense, parents. If you have any questions about conversations as it leading up to the high school age, feel free to leave a comment or reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. I'm Kathleen Hema, and I'll be back next week with another video on It's Time for the Sex Talk for Parents.